and he was gone. Soon we loaded a Jordan in. There he is. You couldn't have timed it more perfectly. You disappeared right when I switched scenes. It was
Boom. Just like that.
dipped out of the hangout real quick. Okay. Well, we hope you get your pixels up throughout the course of the stream. We'll be crossing our fingers for that, for your internet to come through. But what a wild weekend in LCS. One of the wilder playoff weekends in LCS history, perhaps. I don't know. Results wise, it wasn't super insane.
I know.
But it definitely was a lot of games, a lot of crazy games, and a bunch of close calls. So it's been a while since we as Thieves fans have had like a rough weekend.
I was thinking the same thing. A sad feeling is kind of strange to have.
Yeah, even when we like lose something, we usually are winning something else.
Right.
So to lose two things in one weekend was kind of interesting. Now, also interesting, we are not done yet in either Valorant or LCS. It's just lower bracket activated for us. So we've got a lot to talk about because I think this weekend upended a lot of expectations that everybody had, both of us and of other people as well. So yeah, it was weird.
I called it real wrong. I'll just make sure
so
to not gloss over that. Yeah.
Didn't I call 3-0?
I thought you called. Maybe you did. Wait.
I think I called the 3-0 and you called the 3-1.
Oh, okay. Wow. Yeah, I was less wrong than you for a change.
Well, I'm sorry for being wrong, everybody. But in my defense, it was a weird weekend. Housekeeping before we move into everything. Thank you, as always, to Elgato for providing us beautiful lighting equipment and capture equipment to make this stream possible. And a shout out to Rip It as well for providing the best tasting energy drink in the world. I got GeForce on me tonight. You know I keep that thing on me.
I got water in my mug.
Nice. The soft version.
I saw Rip It light water.
Oh, simply Rip It.
Fueled by Rip It light water.
All right. So I don't even know, like, I think maybe we should start by talking about our expectations, because clearly you and I saw something different.
Yeah.
And this is where I'm perhaps the most frustrated, because let's recap what has happened. C9 came across what was the order here? Now I need to like look up the order that these matches. So C9 first played CLG, and it was a weird week. I thought CLG has always been a little bit back and forth. So they had like a bad week against Cloud9. They actually should have won that series 3-2 and ended up losing. Cloud9 caught CLG on a bad week. Then Cloud9 came up against Evil Geniuses in round 2 and caught them on a bad week. EG did not look the same. It was the first time we had seen EG look, mortal against any other team than us.
Yeah.
And they certainly looked way off, way different. Okay. And then, of course, 100 Thieves played C9, and C9 catches 100 Thieves on a bad weekend. What is going on? I want to make something clear, guys. When I made my prediction about 3-0ing them, I felt like C9 has just gotten lucky a couple times in a row. Basically.
Wow.
They should have been in lower, right? I didn't think the luck would continue. And it did. Because guess what? We did not look like ourselves. This is more than just C9 outplaying people. And to give respect to them, they certainly look significantly better than they did. But they also happen to just be on this insane, crazy luck streak of opponents just being like pants down. What is going on?
I mean, If it happens that many times in a row, Cole, at some point it stops being luck, and it's that they
No, no, no,
are.
no, no. That's traditional wisdom. What's really going on is, dang, they got freaking lucky. Every team that's played them has not looked like themselves. Okay. Now, I know everybody say, well, when it happened 3 or 4 times, then maybe it's C9 that's making them not look like themselves. It's like, did you watch that EG series? You're gonna tell
Yeah.
me that was anything other than C9 like not getting, or Evil Geniuses not getting off the bus that day? I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but we're on the bad end.
Yeah.
Or
I mean,
are we?
no. Plot?
Losers
plot?
bracket run? More
Oh.
plot stuff? Who knows? All right, you say what's on your mind. Sorry.
Yeah, I think you talk about us not looking like ourselves. I mean, for me, we just made a lot of very questionable decisions. I actually think there's something that we can look at to say why this is happening. I can save it for later on once we get to more general topics if you'd like.
Yeah, that's probably
But
good.
there were some things that I saw us doing. I was like, this just doesn't seem like us. This just doesn't seem like us. I mean, you could probably look at anything we do, draft, the way we show up in lane, our team fighting. Basically, there are notes that I don't think we hit quite right throughout all of those. But it's hard for me to say, look, they got lucky, certainly on a few of these plays. And these games were close. Let's not forget. These games were very close on average. Well, game 3 was not, but the rest of them were really could have gone either way.
Yeah.
This was a good series. And Fudge hated it. He hated to play in it. He hated to watch it. He hates being in NA. He hates League of Legends. He wishes this series never happened because it was trash, but it was actually pretty good. So I thought it was, it's an interesting one. I really hope that we get to play them again because I think it will be the sequel, also not trash, is what they titled that one. But we'll have to see. We got to earn it first.
I think, yeah, Fudge just wants to like stop playing and complain about people like Dom or something.
He's trying to fast forward to his content career,
toxic co-streaming career.
Oh my gosh!
Print the toxic co-streaming money.
he's trying to get a head start on that. He's trying to double dip.
Well, imagine Fudge being so far in our heads that we're talking about him at the opening of our podcast.
Oh,
but it's true. All right, I think it's worth looking at the games then, because you said, you brought up the point it was a very good series. I agree. It was
exciting,
close, except for game 3, like you mentioned. And oh man, things break differently, just 1 or 2 times. This could have been a 3-0 100 Thieves. It was just a really wild day. Closer Poppy. So game 1, Closer locks in the Poppy. You and I have been supporters of the Poppy pick because Poppy has just been, I don't know. First of all, OP jungler. But second, like Closer has made it look pretty good. And it's not fully his style. I think because there's not like always the damage there. But he has been very effective on the totality of the season for us. Now I think we lost a Poppy game against Team Liquid, maybe, if I'm remembering right, but we played Poppy game 1. And I don't know, do you remember those times when we used to talk about the FBI Felios ult?
Yeah, I do. I remember that.
When it used to not really land. Like he lands them a lot more now, I feel like.
Yeah.
It used to not really land. And that's where we're at with Closer's Poppy. Not to jump ahead, but like Blabber got a couple Poppy ults that like won fights.
Yep.
Closer, I think, landed 1 Poppy ult in game 1. It was a lot of swing and miss. And boy, do I hate to see somebody who's such like an effective fighter and like carry jungler player sitting there on Poppy whiffing ults. So Jordan, I ask you, should we play this? Poppy jungle. Should we play it?
That's a really good question, Cole. Man, if you get that ult just right, you can't lose the fight. You cannot lose that fight. If suddenly their back line is on the opposite side of the map, you win that fight and you get the objective. It is yours for the taking. So it feels like when Poppy is meta, you really ought to be trying it out. You know, when she's good enough, when she's tuned right, just because it's like you stand to gain so much.
Yeah.
So here's what I'd say. Heaven forbid we would have ever said we shouldn't play Aphelios, right? Because he's missing those ults. He's missing those ults. It's like, I almost wonder, you know, it might just be that I can't imagine Closer has you know who he has a ton of games on? Lee Sin. You can tell. It shows, right? Like, he plays that at obviously kind of a world-class upper tier level. I just don't think he has as many reps on Poppy. And I think the only way to get there is to keep playing it. So, you know, how long is it going to be meta? I think the argument could be made. We just need to move on and not prioritize it. And then if we really want to do it, he can put in some more reps in the off season. But it's clear that this is not his champ, and it's one that he doesn't have like the ult sense for. I think that's really what it comes down to for a lot of these, especially the shorter range ults. And the ones where it's very telegraphed. Like, he would do a lot of wind up, and then they'd kind of be like, all right, well, we're going to.
But he would still throw it. There's a difference between like wind up, like I have it, and then like I'm kind of saving it or whatever. But
yeah. So to answer your question, I mean, I'd say no. I'd say no, we shouldn't be.
Should we play it? No.
Maybe for the future.
I'm right on the fence because, like, again, other than the ults, he's been very good
great
on it, I think. Yeah, the ganks have been great. He makes good use of the dash, the steadfast presence, everything. Mm-hmm. But it just seems like we need to be winning these fights. And maybe it's a later in the bracket kind of thing where it's like, oh, yeah, okay, now we're against the teams that can fight like we can. But I'm trending away from Poppy for Closer. And you don't want to be in a position where people are fine with you playing it, right?
Right. That's the ultimate tell. I mean, although apparently some teams are fine with him playing Lee Sin, so they go to show you.
You idiots! You gave us Lee Sin,
and it almost cost you. Wait,
it did cost you worlds.
It cost you. Oh no! The $7 million draft error. Oops. Ooh,
oh, that was a huge one. Yeah,
that one burns. Yeah, that's rough. Okay, what was I saying? Chance that Poppy becomes like one of those all-time, always meta picks seems unlikely to me. I say no. Let's move on.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. I also want to say that this is going to harken back to my thing about just bad luck. All right. And good luck for C9 if you're a Cloud9 fan. Someday picked that day to have his first off day, basically of 2022. Definitely of summer 2022. And he was not, like, game one, it was really out of sync. It was bad. And I think we're okay saying that because he is batting now, including that game, he is batting 999 for 100 Thieves. So I think we can forgive it on the whole. But it was bad timing. It was really bad timing to have your mistake week. He was not fully there. He was away from fights way too often. He set up flanks, but like they took too long, and their utility, it's like, okay, cool. You're setting up a flank, Oh, the fight's starting, and you're still setting up a flank, and the fight's starting, and then you're still setting up a flank, and everybody's dead, and now you're there. Yeah. Which is crazy because like there's a time or two where it still almost panned out. But the flanks were taking too long. He got flat out caught out on bottom side at like the worst possible time in this game. One, he got baited in on top lane. He got picked right before the Elder fight in the backdoor situation. Like, it was
You know what he had in that fight? Teleport.
Oh,
Unfortunately, he was dead. And you can't teleport.
You can't
if your
teleport.
Champion is dead.
What if you could teleport your corpse?
Yo,
is there utility? What if you
everybody
I'm getting all these ideas. A champion whose passive is their body actually is still a physical object once they die. And so you can still block skill shots. You can still body block skills. Man, I am so,
You can get the Zeri W
Riot,
off
call me. Call me Night Drake. It's happening. Okay. Anyway, like I was saying, it was just a bad week for him, man. It look, again, he's been so good for us, so consistent. That's so awesome. Thank you someday. I'm so sad that it worked out that it was this weekend. I hope that we have more than like 4 or 5 games of Aatrox planned for this upcoming week. And I think we should. I think we will. I think we should. Poor guy. Bad for us. You can't really be mad, but you want to be mad, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, you sure can't.
Yeah.
When somebody gives that much, they're allowed to have every once in a while be less than perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, I did like he didn't play any Ornn, if I'm not mistaken. Did he have an Ornn game?
What was his? He played he played a Gwen game.
Oh yeah.
And then everything else was Aatrox. Yeah. His Gwen was amazing. His Gwen was super strong.
Aatrox great in a lot of situations, not great in not as great in like surviving ganks, and I think they exploited that. They got him with some pretty well crafted situations out there that he couldn't quite fight his way out of. Yeah. So, they punished it. It was a good play from them.
Yeah. I do also want to mention Abbedagge in this game because we will talk about it later, but all I'll do here is that Abbedagge finished with like 80, 90 CS higher than Jensen, and Abbedagge did 32,000 damage and Jensen did 8. Okay? Just putting that out there. Just put it out there for later. We can debate about the backdoor thing. Let's do it now. What was going on with the backdoor thing?
I mean, it was just a really good play.
It was so lucky. It was so lucky, man. Look, was it smart?
It's because they killed Sunday.
Yes.
They killed Sunday. They knew we didn't have any TPs.
It was smart. Yes. That was a good call. Yes. It got approximately 4,000x the value it should have gotten. That should have been like, take mid inhib. And that's it. I am so angry about that. I'm so angry that Jensen was the beneficiary of that. Because now it's like, oh, Jensen was amazing game 1.
Yeah, he was so good. He won the game, Cole.
He was so bad that he had to be away from the fight to help. All right? Come on, man. Look, I don't want to be a gratuitous Jensen hater, because I'm not really. I think the dude's good. But it just was so frustrating. In this Abbedagge Jensen rivalry thing, I really want my boy to come out on top. I feel like this is one of the things where I'm truly just flat out biased about it. And that is the way it is. I feel like we do a good job of being reasonable about most things here, but man, the Abbedagge Jensen thing, I just want Abbedagge to smash all the time.
You're allowed a few of those.
Yeah.
You can have a few of those. It's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't go back and rewatch that. Just didn't feel like I needed to, but I do wonder. It felt like we chased them a little bit. I know, look, I understand you can stop backs and all this stuff, but it seemed like we were chasing kills when he was destroying our nexus.
Dude, Fudge hit his Zonias, and Closer had Yumi attached, right? And he came back to help finish off that kill, even though he didn't need to. Like, FBI would have been fine to finish it off.
Oh,
but he takes like 3 steps back and like helps and then comes back. If he doesn't do that, we save it. Now, we probably still would have a very low nexus and no mid lane, so it would probably likely be a loss still, but at least we can like cucaracha it for a while, and stay alive.
Yep.
So that was a tilter. That was a tilter. And that was kind of a thing that happened in this game, was over chasing when we shouldn't, and then not chasing when we should, maybe, happened a couple times in the middle of the game. I think there was like after a Baron, maybe it was like, thought we could come out of there with like 3 kills and everybody just walks away, basically.
Yeah.
There are
a lot of these fights throughout the entire series. I feel like if I had to summarize this entire series in one way, it's everybody's getting like, there's sometimes some games where you have these fights. It's like, oh man, you know, 6 ults get used. You know, you got somebody's on a zone use, GA gets lost, and nobody dies. And you're like, how?
Yeah.
How did
No
nobody, not
sums
even
left.
one? And then it shows like damage done in the fight. It's like he dropped 10,000 damage. He didn't kill anybody. In this game, it was like the fight would last 40 seconds, right? These incredibly drawn out, scrappy fights. 6 people dead in the first 10 seconds. And you're like, how are you guys still doing this?
Yeah.
It was wild. And so many of these fights really did come down to like, it was almost like they just decided, like, all right, this one we're gonna decide. You guys, we'll drop off a few. We're gonna have a duel in the river to see. You pick your 2, we'll pick our 2, and they're gonna go for it. So that just happened time and time again. And there were a lot of them where it felt like we just barely lost. We just barely lost some of those fights because they were so damaging to both sides. None of these games ended super quickly, except for game 3. Like even this one, there's a full-on fight happening elsewhere, and you know, Jensen just opted out of it.
Okay.
And then
It was a good call. It was a good call. If Jensen stays, we probably win the fight. Jensen was meaningless in that game basically until the very end. We probably win that fight. We probably ace them and win. You know what I mean? Like that's probably what happened. You can't get much more value out of a single decision than that. So kudos to them for making the call. They made the call. They were better. Cool. Dang it, but cool.
Yeah. Yep.
Game 2. I was so excited by this response. I was like, okay, check it out. We just lost heartbreak, right? Jensen was virtually meaningless. FBI locks in Callista. So it's like, do you remember when that happened last time? He was on one. Let's go. Someday on the Gwen. Abbedagge on the Talia. And making it look really juicy. I just loved this response so much. I actually was shocked it took us as long as it did to put this game away. Because I just felt like we were so strong that nothing else mattered. And this game was actually a lot closer than it maybe should have been. I haven't figured it out. I haven't gone back. I like watched like the highlight back after I watched the game itself. And I'm still just a little bit in the dark about what happened here. It was basically an even game for like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
The early game pick for FBI and Huhi didn't really work out. Felt like they still had control over the lane. I think Huhi played. So, okay. I was in our Discord during this game live, and I was saying I don't like the Huhi pick for it, or the Amumu pick for Huhi. Not a fan. And then, like, you know, of course, he gets like 3 or 4 man ults engages, including back-breaking stuff that like won the game for us, basically. So cool. I still don't really like it. And part of it is it felt like, do you remember when Core JJ played Amumu against us?
Yeah,
it was like the inverse Core JJ Amumu game. It was the Bizarro World antimatter Core JJ Amumu game. Yeah. Core JJ hit every bandages he ever threw out in lane. It was, he was sniping them. He was hitting trick shots. It was crazy. He landed everything and the lane sucked really bad. And then Huhi was like the opposite. It was like nothing in lane. Nothing made sense. Nothing worked. Again, that was a lane that we probably should have been winning and didn't really. And then late game, Core JJ actually kind of doo-dooed the bed a bit and ended up doing nothing. Whereas Huhi was the exact opposite.
Yeah.
And absolutely went off on the Amumu. And after every ult, there were people tagging me in the Discord, be like, still hate the Amumu pick? And I was like, yes.
Yeah.
Still hate it. You can't fool me. I'm not fooled by like the 4-man ults. I was wrong. But I'm still coming away with this not feeling like I want to see this played again. Because it's the lane state, right? Like, don't you draft this for the lane? So if you don't win the lane, isn't it kind of like,
I mean, look, that team fight utility is very high. I think the reason for me that I'm I don't know. I'll say I'm still undecided on it. Look, he played that mid to late game as well as you possibly can. He hit a 4-man ult that nobody could even follow up on because
Yeah.
it was just a shade too early.
Yeah.
But like he was hitting them basically whenever he wanted to. It was really nerve-wracking though, because it's not who he's regular style, which is I feel like who he is the um like chain engage. Boom, boom,
Mm-hmm.
boom, boom. You know, like he's
CC
either
over and
gonna
over. And
he's gonna get a pick, or he's gonna just do these crazy things throughout the course of a team fight. This one is like, hey, the team fight has started, everyone on their team is asleep, and let's see what happens. And
and
it
my
did
work
feel,
is done.
yeah, my work is done. And now I am going to be blown up. So here we go. So I don't know. It just felt like we were losing. This is always how it goes with these players who are very, very, very good at something, and like not just one thing, but you know they have their things that they are far and away, you know, best in league or like all pro level at, right? And then when you see them on another champ and it looks like they're doing well, you can't help but feel like, but it's just not quite what I expect Huhi to do, and therefore I don't know. Like I always get nervous when we lose Huhi at the start of a fight, which is basically what happened in a lot of these fights.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, how are we now going to continue to like glue this team fight together?
Yeah. And
It's
he
now a
does a
4v5.
lot of that. He
He does
does
a ton of that. So yeah, that for me, that was the thing. It's like, he's doing this. He's playing it as intended. And I'm just not sure that I'm loving it.
What about the you had a note in there about how close we were to getting first blood on Berserker?
Oh, yeah, that was I mean, that's one of those where look, we win this game. If we don't win this game, we go back and watch that again, and you know, we are absolutely convinced that had we got that last 10 HP off Berserker, we win this game.
Yeah, it's
So
like, does
not
the
only
lane
does
go
he,
different with that? Like, do we
yeah, yeah,
win the lane
I think it
convincingly?
did go. Sven did get the kill, so like gold wise, but you know, he didn't die. They got the kill. Like we invested a ton of time and energy down there. So, but it's just so close. It was 10 HP. It was 10 HP. I thought we played it pretty well, but it's like every other fight in this entire series was messy, man. There's just a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah. Maybe that changes the face of the lane, but like, I don't know. It's Berserker's freaking good.
He's so good.
I think we can all be like, okay, this is Berserker is
Yeah.
the number one AD.
As advertised. He's very good.
He is definitely extremely good. Man, if we would have gotten that, maybe this looks like a bigger role and not we don't stall the game out for 30 minutes. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hard to say. But you know, I was saying like I was surprised at how long it took us because the strength of our other places on the map. I mean, some days Gwen was strong quick. It was like very apparent early that someday was going to be probably our primary carry, even though maybe it didn't end up that way. But it was like he was in position to carry his Gwen within like 10 minutes or something. It was like, okay, cool. He was so strong. He was like nearly getting a kill in a 1v3, like a bailout. Someone pointed out the aptly named bailout saved a 1v3 kill by someday. Like,
yeah.
and he did monstrous damage in the team fights. I thought I want to see more of this. I wish like it doesn't feel like we play a whole lot of Gwen anymore, right? Like maybe first half of the split we did a good amount, and I think there was like a micro nerf to Gwen, and it's one of those things where it's like it's a 0.05 nerf to Gwen, and the pro's like, oh, unplayable. You know, it's like
broken champ.
Really, because it looked pretty good. It looked pretty good.
Yeah. None of these fights were lost because he didn't have that extra, 16.7 HP. You know, It's like, I think that's just fine.
But it was awesome because in addition to that, Abbedagge, best Talia game that he's played. He went off so hard and got like virtually no credit for doing this. In fact, the best moment for me of this was in that fight around Dragon Pit where Abbedagge like wins the game for us in this fight. He landed the sickest 4-man seismic shove,
Yes.
doing crazy damage along the way. And I
Yep.
forget who was casting. Was it Freak at that point?
It was Freak. Yeah, yeah.
And Freak's like, someday. And I was like, did you not see? He just landed the best seismic shove of the whole LCS season.
Yeah.
He's like, someday. Which, you know, cool. I like Kind Boy going off, you know? Yes, damage for someday. Abbedagge, like, it was incredible. And
Yeah.
and they didn't even like call it out. And dang, he just went off. So
Yeah.
maybe. Got my optimism glasses on right now. Maybe teams don't really notice how good of a Talia game that was for him. Maybe we
There
can
you
log it
go.
in again. Maybe we some of the Talia, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it was really good. I think the walls are continuing to improve too. Like, remember the first time you played Talia Split? The walls were like 8 seconds too early. Like, it would just delay the team fight. Like, everyone would just have to stand around. Like, the wall would go out, it would be like,
Okay.
you guys good, or how's it going over there? And then it comes down, like, all right, back to what we're doing. Let's go. Now
Like
it's
Bjergsen's
like
Bjergsen's Talia ults this weekend.
I didn't see them. I didn't
Oh
watch
my
that.
god.
Is it? They weren't good.
It was, most of them were pretty bad.
Yeah, so he's much improved. That game ended when he hit that. It was a seismic shove. He laid the rock carpet first too, so they're just soaking up damage. They're getting tossed around. Whoo! I think there's a wall there too. Like, that choke point should be named. It's like Sub Rosa in Valorant. You know, like how he's got his spot.
Yeah.
Like, that is now the Abbedagge choke point for Talia. Man, if anybody else hits that, it will be the Abbedagge.
Yeah. Dude, oh man, I love that play. That one's going to be in the top 20 plays of the LCS season. Teasing that one.
It will be.
Because it was crazy.
Better believe it.
Anyway, that basically won the fight. Or won the game, excuse me. It did win the fight too, but wins the game.
Yeah.
At that point, we start going up and then we don't look back. So good for us. I mean, I thought it was a great response game. I thought like their draft, we'll talk about the Jensen pick later, but other than that, like, the draft was like, okay, these guys are playing stuff that they can beat us on for sure.
Yeah.
And then Abbedagge and Someday refused to let that happen. So it's like Octane, I refuse to lose this.
Yeah. Yes.
So that was game 2. And I was like, cool. We punched right back. We barely, like, miraculously lost the game in game 1. This is basically a 2-0 right now. We're going to have all the confidence in the world. Boom. 5K down at 17 minutes. Game 3.
Love it. Love that start.
What the heck happened in this?
Ugh.
I literally don't know.
Yeah, this game, this is the one that wasn't close.
This was a legitimately good game by Jensen. It wasn't insane, but it was a very good game by Jensen. Not a lot of fighting and killing happening in this one, at least compared to the other ones.
Yeah.
But doesn't it kind of feel like the Lucian Nami just kind of fell flat?
It does, man. And I feel like every time we pick it, every time we lock it in, we're like, okay, lower priority on this lane duo, but they're still playing it well. And like, we can't say that anymore.
Yeah, right. That's okay. Thank you. That's exactly right. Because we were the team keeping that alive, because our Lucian Nami going back to Worlds last year has looked the best. And when all the other teams started losing on it, we still were winning on it and it still looked good. But probably most OP combo in the game right now, Lulu Zeri. Like, we were playing Lulu Zeri. The Lucian Nami didn't look quite as good. And that was kind of it, right?
Yeah.
That hurts.
It feels a little bit like a changing of the guard.
It like, feels like this is not our thing anymore. Okay.
This is the aggressive duo.
Yeah. We had the Lucian Nami. We got to let it go.
Yeah.
The good times are over with that.
I saw someone in chat earlier who's smarter than I at reading patch notes mention that Zeri's going to get hit with a nerf before Worlds.
Yeah.
So honestly,
can we bump that up to this weekend?
Yeah, it's possible. Somebody tweet at Riot.
We've got a few friends on the inside.
maybe Lucianami comes back. And if it does, like, look, this is another one. Lucian always going to be. He's never going to be like who's the ADC who just never gets played. I don't know. They're you get my point. Like Lucian will always be on the periphery of viable. I feel like. So it doesn't hurt to have this one right now. Like for finals weekend, I don't really want to see it again.
It's kind of over.
Yeah.
And maybe we sub it with Kaisa. Why not? Right?
Yeah.
Why not? FBI Kaisa, bring it back. Let's have another dominant ADC like pseudo pocket pick for FBI. Let's do it. Let's do it.
I like his Kaisa. I hope that it's back soon.
No idea how terrible it is in the meta though, so don't hold us to that.
Exactly.
Let's see. You had a note about someday, right?
Yeah. He got this is another one where he started off 0-2-0. And it was largely because they kind of just camped him.
Maybe they were getting payback for Summit last year, which shout out casters, for the first time they came out and said it. For the first time they got the history right, the facts right, and actually were bold enough to say it. Shout out Mark Z. He was like, yeah, 100 Thieves basically forced Summit out of LCS. Which he's doing fine in FPX. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Force him out, expose that weakness, made it happen, and we finally got credit for it. Wow. Boy, howdy. Do Alfari next.
We need to keep it going. I was thinking about that. I feel like we beat EG pretty late in the split.
Mm-hmm.
They've had a rough time since then. I would love to see just like
what's broke the EG record? Angle.
Yeah. What's the team's record before and after losing to us? You know.
Oh, I like where your head's at right now, dude.
Yeah, boy.
When was that game anyway? What week was that? Was that week 7?
I can't remember.
It all blends together for us.
It does. It truly does.
Hold on. That was, I'll tell you. It was week 6, actually. No, there's no way it was week 5. It was week 5, so never mind. Wow. Probably not going to hold up.
No.
But I still like it. Let's still say it. But yeah, so all of this, here's the thing. This is one of those games where like the fights were still almost always super close. And it's like if you don't have enough like 3 or 4 times in a row, then everything just spirals out of control. And we were just on the precipice in the first, series of fights. So this game, it kind of just got out of hand with that, and it probably like just a couple things go differently. This game is different. But on the heels of like what I thought was like a nice bounce back from us, we actually kind of got blasted. And I think I knew at that moment that the series was over. And I'm sorry to say that.
Yeah.
But it just had that darkness to it, right? It's like the unjust things of the world happen right when we're feeling at our best.
Yep.
And C9 took over, recognized the opportunity. Game 4 was closer than game 3, obviously. Looked even for a few brief moments promising for us because we clawed back into it, which perhaps we don't say enough about the resiliency of the team. We used to focus a lot on this because when we were not so good, it was more apparent. It was like, oh man, but look, they're still like trying to punch back, and now you're focusing on, oh, we're losing. But at the same time, like these guys are not giving up. Consistently just mid to late game, pulling rabbits out of hats in fights. And, the bad part is if you fall too far behind, you need one too many of those. It's not going to happen for you. We actually got up, what was it, like 2K gold at like later in this game? Yeah, 25 minutes in. Found a little nice 2K gold lead, and then just, for lack of a better word, frittered it away, right? It was I'm not sure what the Abbedagge and Seraphine thought was, but it was not what I don't want to see it again. Should we play it? Abbedagge and
Yeah.
Seraphine?
Let's play it. Wait, I meant let's play the game. Should we play this? Should we play this? Cole?
No. We just
That's a no.
We should
That's
not
a
play
no
this.
from Cole.
Honestly, like we were still kind of like competitive until he died in the middle of that river. Like just got popped. I didn't even really see what happened. I like blinked and he was
caught by
dead.
Yuumi. He had no flash. Caught by the Yuumi ult, and then they focused.
He was
him
just
down.
doing some Seraphine frontlining, you know, in the river.
He was threatening the 5-man charm. Yeah.
This one was
yeah.
it was just a little bit of a roller coaster, and it just that was an automatic loss. Once that team fight happened. Take me through your like game process here. So you've mapped out some things here. Take me on a beautiful journey of discovery where we learn how to fix our mistakes.
So I will call out, actually. You I know that you felt like Closer was having himself a fine game, and he hit the same Wukong. This is like the insec of Wukong. It's I'm walking away from you. Don't worry about me. And then you like either W back in or flash W back in, but suddenly you're in the middle of their team who's chasing you because you look wounded, and you get a double knock up. So it was good to see Closer return the favor to Blabber, who hit a really nasty one of those, I think, in game 1.
Yeah.
So
that was actually
like that.
The game, probably, because I think without that play by Blabber in game 1, we probably rolled.
Yeah, that was big for them. That was a huge swing. So we got that back. It didn't end up having as much of an impact on the game, but that's okay.
No, in fact, Closer had a doo-doo game. Really, I mean, he died 6 times, man. That is very uncloser, like, especially on Wukong, man. Every time he locks in Wukong, I'm like, let's go.
Yep,
fighting.
Well, the Wukong Seraphine is really nice. I mean, if you can start knocking people up, it's hard to miss that ult.
Well, maybe we should leave the Seraphine to Huhi then. But it's hard to argue with what we
honestly,
got pick-wise, because we have Zeri Lulu, right? The super OP bot lane.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't bad, but we didn't get what we needed, right? Like, I think the Yuumi, like Sven had like an insane game. And unfortunately that ended up being important because we got more of the picks leading to a fight over an objective than we got of 5v5, right?
Yeah, Yuumi. Anyway, let's see if they disable that champion before Worlds. Just they're gonna try to like patch it out. Just be like, "Boop, disabled. Some bug. The skin's broken. We don't know what happened. We'll fix it next year." It's just not that. But yeah, like the thing I want to highlight is we did have a really good play about 25 minutes in. We stopped them from getting the soul. Very important to do. And this is for me, it's indicative of what is actually, I think, the bigger concern from this series. We just made some bad decisions. So we stopped the soul. We went straight to Baron. Baron almost killed us.
Yes,
like almost wiped our team. We were almost prey to the Baron ace. And then Cloud9 comes in and they clean up 5. So we have no Baron buff. You know, it's like, hey, great. We got momentum. We stopped them from getting soul. We bought ourselves more time, and then we hand them 5 kills. And it's hard from there. Although we still play for a while.
I know. I remember when it happened, like I'd already kind of given up on the series, but I was like, well, at least they don't get Baron.
But like we had we had priority and we spent it all getting wiped. You know, it's just like, man. So plays like that. I have a theory that I'll run by you on why that is once we get to our general topics.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I mean, look, summing up the series, like it was a frustrating one, but it was one that I think showed us a lot about ourselves, and we've got a week to retool, and then we have to play 2 series. So I think we'll be sharp. Like I don't know. I think there's something about that edge, you know, that feels more urgent for the guys, and I think it'll ultimately be good. But this was like, we played bad, like relative to what we expect from ourselves. We played poorly. C9 has been playing, way above what their previous standard has been. I don't know if you want to call it like playing up to their potential or not. But as we, you and I were pointing to, hey, bot lane is actually like the meta now.
Yeah.
Which was then validated by all the other analysts and podcasts for the rest of the week. So I was glad we got one thing right since we're dumb about the game. But with bot lane meta, Berserker is emerging as this is the dude. This is the dude. It's like FBI seems to maybe have lost a little bit of juice, and Berserker drank it. It's like Austin Powers where he loses his mojo, right? And then Dr. Evil drinks it. That's what's happening.
They got it.
That's what's
they
happening.
Got our juice.
But I wanted to visit something. So, how we've had our exciting content mini-series this year. 100 Talk reacts to JLXP.
Yes.
One of the things that was said by Jat was that he said, quote, Jensen definitely bested Abbedagge. And I was thinking about that. I was like, okay. In the way you say that, like he definitely bested Abbedagge, it sounds like he smashed Abbedagge. I think like in a literal sense, it's like, okay, yeah, he got the best of the matchup, right? But it's like when you break this down, this made me mad. So I was alluding to it earlier. Game 1, 32,000 damage from Abbedagge to 8,000 from Jensen. But Jensen, C9, release the comms. I want to know if Jensen even made that decision. All right. To go down mid lane and win the game with his 8,000 total damage Orianna. Abbedagge did like more than that in one fight. I know he won the game, but I'm not going to be like, yeah, Jensen was better than Abbedagge that game, because he just wasn't. All right. Can we just agree on that? He just wasn't.
We can. Yes, we can.
Then game 2, what happens? Jensen drafts the cheat laner, Anivia, right? He's like, okay, I'm going to just ult the wave constantly so I don't lose lane. And you know what? Very irrelevant during that game. There was one really nice wall that he set up. And other than that, it was like, did Jensen even matter in that game?
Yeah, I don't recall.
He just hid behind the wave clear and didn't do anything. So look, I'm telling you, like, value game 1, Abbedagge was way higher, other than the one decision that maybe Fudge told him to do or Blabber told him to do. Sven, probably, of all people. Then game 2, drafts to have perma lane and still loses, right? Now, after that, right, game 3, LeBlanc was pretty dang effective. We were scared of it. He was strong on it. He led his team kill-wise. Abbedagge didn't really get anything on the Ahri, which I think is very unusual because his Ahri's been very good. Lane was tight. I don't know. It's like, yeah, we'll give a slight edge to Jensen for that game. I'm good with that.
Yeah, I do remember one nice pick onto Jensen in the top jungle. Like in a bush, he hit an Everfrost into a charm. Like,
yeah.
So,
but I think it's fair to say Jensen slight edge on the game.
Oh, for sure.
Right?
For sure. Absolutely. No question.
And then game 4, certainly. Abbedagge was on Seraphine and had a doo-doo game. Okay. 05-11, while Jensen on the Azir, which, here's me saying it again, I don't care what changes they're making to Azir or whatever, like, he has been so good of a pick that, like, if you pick him, you're basically going to win. But 8-2-11 on the Azir, great game. Had like a perfect 3-man, 4-man like ult that kind of like ended the game. I don't know. He was very good. Okay. So I see it as like they kind of went even across the 4 games. The thing Jensen says the thing that Jensen has, is that mid lane push, and it won the game, and he obviously won the series. But can we just relax on the Jensen love for a little bit? Like, again, I'm not a hater. I think he's really good. But
I mean, I think the way you've summarized it is helpful, right? So it's like, okay,
I'm so biased, man. I just want my boy Abbedagge to get
but it's kind of a 4-game series. It was kind of like, look, 2 of these games, if you look at the actual like lane phase, I'm gonna break this down. There's like the lane phase and then rest of game. We call it like team fights. Like backdoor is not a phase, right? You don't give somebody a grade just for that.
Release
you
the
get
comms.
extra credit.
Release the
extra
comms.
credit for it. But yeah, it's basically, it feels like it's 2 games to 2 games, and Jensen wins the series, so extra credit for that. But it feels like a stretch to me to say Jensen very clearly a better mid laner this series, because it's like, well, they kind of split games so far as like general impact, and then with a cheeky backdoor being the difference maker really between the two.
Every time they say cheeky something, I'm gonna throw away.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk more Abbedagge though. Did you see the post game interview with him and Latigris?
I didn't. You know how I feel about those. I didn't watch it super closely.
Yeah. Okay. So I usually don't either. Someone brought it up and told me to watch it, so I definitely. It was a good look from him, I thought. It's tough to be interviewed after you lose, especially the way we lost, and especially when we lost, right? I pulled out a couple quotes from him. He said, I'm frustrated by how I played the last 2 games. I kind of gave everything in the first 2 games and had nothing left. Interesting, right? Very candid. Not the kind of thing that I would expect, like not having anything left after 2 games. It's a little worrying to say that. Then he later said, when asked about the C9 matchup potential for the rematch, he said, I'm still confident. I think we figured out how they want us to play, and I think we have some adaptations.
I think we figure out how they want to play, right?
Yeah. Did I read it wrong? Sorry. I
You
think
said how they want us.
Sorry. I think we figured out how they want to play, and I think we have some adaptations. So you have him humble, good, because Abbedagge has a problem with that when he wins, for sure. You have him taking ownership. You have him being candid in a way that's still, it's, like I said, that was kind of a concerning thing. But you have him projecting confidence right back, right? And bringing up adaptations. I thought he handled that interview just about as good as you possibly could have. It's like a losing interview. Again, owning what happened, even though I don't feel like Abbedagge had a bad series, right? I thought his Seraphine game was bad. But 3 other games, good stuff, right?
Yeah.
But he sees it in that way. He takes ownership and projects confidence. Well handled by him. That gives me that actually materially helped my view of what's coming next for us, right? Because it would be different if he made that comment like, I kind of gave everything in the first 2 games and I had nothing left. It'd be different if he just let that hang.
Right.
He may have to clarify what he means by that, but still, it's like they think they learned something about C9, right? I hope we did. I hope we also learned something about ourselves, and that the adaptations that he's referencing, we save them for when it matters, and that's the losers run that we make. We know the losers bracket buff is real, and we have just officially tapped into it. So, with that being said, looking forward to some of what's left to happen here. We got Revenge Tour 2022 coming up. We have to play EG, which, by the way, holy crap, Team Liquid, how do you lose?
Yeah,
that was bad, man. And like you mentioned, $7 million draft mistake against us. It was a weird day for Team Liquid. I thought they had that. I thought they were going to bounce EG. I think EG needs some humbling. So I would have preferred to see them bounced.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, now we have to run through them who 3-0'd us in the spring. So we get a chance to avenge that.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. EG has looked way more out of sorts compared to their standard than we have to our standard. And we've looked out of sorts. So, or we did this past weekend for sure. So, okay. Like, it's kind of like, all right. And then once we beat them, because we will beat them, then we play C9 to avenge what happened here, which is our first like meaningful loss to C9 in a while, by the way.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like, if you're looking at the personality of the team with the, like, you know, chip on the shoulder kind of thing, and like we need some extra motivation, need some bullet board material, we're kind of in a good spot, right? No?
Yeah.
You not feeling as confident? Did you not watch Danny play?
Oh no. Are you talking about EG against
Yeah.
EG? Yeah, I feel confident against EG. Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah. That you and I exchanged texts around the time they were playing.
Yeah, that's
honestly, I am concerned. Look, I say this from time to time just to drive the point home. I don't watch super closely every team's games. I try to keep up, but that's a lot of games to watch. Playoff series, I tend to watch a little bit more closely. I don't know if Danny always looks very deflated, but he looked like he was not in this series. And I'm not talking about the way he played. I'm talking about like his player cam. Like I almost wonder. I was a bit worried that something was not right, like that he wasn't well. And so people who watch more EG can let me know that that's just always how Danny is. I know he's always kind of been more quiet. Like he's not JoJo. He's always been more understated. He just and then he certainly didn't play like the Danny who single-handedly, that was not looking like Baron Steel pentakill Danny,
Heck no.
So, I of course I don't hope for any of that. I hope that he's good.
By the way, chat saying he was crying after the win.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't notice that.
I'm sure. Yeah. Like, look, it just looks like the guy's going through something. And we never ever know what these players are going through. And sometimes you hear about it after the fact, like years later. Like I had a lot of stuff going on in my life at that time. And maybe it's just the immense pressure of all of the expectation that's on them. But they didn't look anything like the height of it. And you I'll continue to give you credit for this goal. You talk all the time about like, look, you want to peak at the right time. They peaked at the exact right time in the spring. It appears that they are not peaking at the right time this split. I think they peaked, at the end of they peaked in the regular season. It appears, because this postseason they have lost more games by far than they did through the entire split.
I mean,
so
yes, and credit to JoJo, because I think JoJo's the only one who's really like, no, guys, we got to win this. And like, JoJo has gotten way too much credit way too soon. They're already talking about how he's gonna be a top 5 all-time mid laner if he plays one more split, is I think what they said on the dive, which is absolutely insane to say about someone in their first year. I don't care how good they are. You don't say that in their first year.
Right.
But he's done a lot to earn, I think, like kind of like the most difficult kind of respect, that intangible respect of like the dog, right? Like he's got that dog in him. Like that is what he's showing right now. So kudos to him. He has demonstrated and proven a lot of that. We'll see how they do in the title run and at Worlds. But if he's able to perform at the level he has, which is like not, and I'm not going to say he's taken over every game, because he's not, but picking his spots and taking over when it matters and when their backs are against the wall. And, that's meaningful and good for him. So there's that.
It did look like he was willing them to even stay in some of those games. Like he was doing a lot.
Yeah. I thought Impact played really well, actually. But it wasn't Danny. Danny is like a shattered shell of himself. I don't know what happened. I hope he's okay. I don't wish evil on anybody like that, but something's off there. And that could be a weakness for us. So here's a question though. our bot lane is not performing up to what we expect from it either. So, do we focus bot lane or do we ignore bot lane for this weekend?
Yeah, man, it's an interesting question. I mean, this weekend, look, I'm going to take one quick step back to bridge into this topic, which is, Abba's saying that he gave everything in the first 2 games, had nothing left. It doesn't super surprise me to hear that, because this is not a roster where we look for one person to do it all every game.
Right? Yeah.
So if he says, look, you rewind the tape even just like a month, and you say you're going to get, in a best of 5, you're going to get 2 outstanding games from Abbedagge, a more quiet game, and like a bad game. I mean, I wouldn't at all, like, if you just say 2 great games from Abbedagge, I'm thinking we win that series, because we have enough other players, closer, FBI someday, who he can win us game. Like, they
Yeah.
can we share that load really well. So I don't expect for one player to need to give it all in 3 consecutive games for us to have a chance at winning a best of 5. So that doesn't super concern me. And like, he basically single-handedly ended that game on the Talia, and his Azir was great. So like, I'm not worried about that necessarily. Which kind of brings me to this question too. Like, do we focus bot lane or do we ignore bot lane?
Bot lane meta, right?
Bot lane meta. Look, I do think this is the bot lane meta.
This is the top 3 bot lanes in NA that are still alive, by the way.
Yeah. And this is Berserker's meta. This is his very own meta, right?
Insanely high mobility champion that's overtuned. That is like the Berserker dream, right?
Yeah. I watched this series with my brother-in-law, who's a big C9 fan, and kind of got me into League in the first place. So I give him a pass.
I hope you also gave him a punch. Said that one's for Sven, since I can't do it.
By the transitive property. But I was just watching these games, and I looked at him and I said, man, it must feel so good to be Berserker and for Riot to release your champion. Like, they make the champion that you recognize, like, oh, this is what I've been waiting for. This is the champion who fits exactly to how I like to play this game. I am so good at it. It's just, so this is Berserker's meta. That will be a hard thing. And look, maybe we should get to the point where you have to ban Zeri and move on. I think he's still good. I'm not saying that we're going to be able to like target ban him with one pick, over one ban. But so I think for that reason, I think FBI is certainly still playing better than Danny was. I think Berserker is going to gap them both if he gets the right setup. So I kind of think for this series against EG, I think we do focus bot lane. Make sure we get those guys some good picks. Like, I'm thinking, even just like there are plenty of options available for us. I don't really know if we can, like, I don't think we're going to beat C9 through bot. I just don't think we can. It's not going to happen. That's my sense.
Yeah. It's interesting to talk about like banning Zeri and everything, because I don't understand why we didn't do that against C9. Just eliminate, that champ from the game. And it's like we banned Sejuani every game. We were scared of the flex. We were scared of not, being prepped for it. Dude, I don't care if they play Sejuani.
That's kind of,
I think that's a wrong read. Ban the freaking Zeri unless you can first pick it.
And even if we first pick it, it's just not as good as Berserker is. Like,
right, yeah, we don't get the same value out of it, right? It's like we talked about this last week. It's like, excuse me, it's like Bjergsen Zillion, right? It's a premium.
Lease in closer.
Yeah, it's lease in closer. That's right. There's the premium that Berserker gets out of that champion that no one else really does, even though it's still overtuned. So we're not going to get it. Might as well remove it out of the game. Sure, I'm good with that. Ban Zeri or ban Lulu, or like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Take him out of the game. I think we did actually toss Lulu.
I'm pretty sure. Like, how many other games?
Yeah, we banned Lulu game 2. And game 4.
Okay, so they win. Okay, I'm gonna do some quick. They win 2 games with with Zeri, 1 game with Neela. It's like And so we get the
And we had the
Zeri.
Zeri in game 4, right? Yeah.
And we didn't. Yeah. So I don't know.
Just ban it.
That's my
Just ban it.
Just ban it. Move on.
Um,
We just gotta move on.
yeah, we definitely have to move on.
Let Riot fix it. You know, we're not gonna stop Berserker. Riot has to. Thank you, Riot.
And then if they patch it out by worlds, it's like, you know, congrats C9. Now what? They'll find another OP pick for Berserker. That dude is nasty.
He's good. He's very good.
Talk to me about objectives.
All right, man. This is what I've mentioned a couple of times. It makes me nervous. I'll start by saying that. I tried to go back and review the tape to find this one play. Maybe you'll remember this and you can refresh me. There was one moment we had we harkened back to our old ways, and I had hoped to never see this again.
I think this was game 3, if I remember.
Game
right.
3. We won a fight. I don't think it showed up in the highlight reel because it wasn't
didn't,
highlight worthy. We win a fight.
Did you check the low light reel?
Yeah, honestly,
it was at the top of that.
The League of Legends goofs and gaffs week, you know, whatever,
Yeah,
675. Right. So we win a fight. We split our focus. We both go mid, and we go, I think, for Baron, and we get neither of them, and we
pull
leave
off Baron and leave them soul,
having accomplished nothing. Like that is that's the kind of play that we haven't made, and it feels like a year, and I don't like to see that. I'll say.
Bad time for it to crop up.
Yeah. And then, but it's connected, right? So we get to Baron and we're like, oops, not enough time. Better leave. And then we reset and they're just like, well, we'll take our objective while you guys are doing that. There are a couple other ones I want to bring your attention to. And this is like a weird thing that I saw happening that is new. And it's because of changes they made to the game, but it's like this weird pattern that happens. So we get a dragon down to about 3,000 health, and then we either leave and we're like, and here's your dragon that we've prepared for you. We have somewhere else to be, so you guys have this. One time we left because we felt like a Kennen was flanking. He's like threatening on the flank.
Oh my gosh, that was twice the exact same play. Yeah. By the way, it was game 1 with the weird objective.
Yeah, it was game 1.
And
it was.
And I tweeted during that game, we just literally walked in circles instead of picking an objective. Watch it back.
It's so crazy. It happened. So that the first dragon was game 1. There was another dragon in game 1 where we leave at 3,000 health. It's like as soon as it hits 3,000 health, we gotta go.
No, that's too low.
We're out. We just like Berserker shows up. It's at 3K health. We're like, chill. We know how good he is. We're out. Peace. That's their dragon. Game 3, it happened again. This time it was Poppy, Blabber just sending closer elsewhere. 3K health. Yeah. They just walk in, couple autos.
Thank you.
That's theirs. And then actually it happened to C9 once where they got it to 3K and then we walk up and take it. So it is weird. I don't like it. I don't like that this is happening. We got to figure this out. And this is part of the reason I'm not as confident as I would otherwise be. It feels like we have a meta, like a big, or not a meta, sorry, a macro problem, which is all of the objectives are harder to kill now. So in some ways, I actually think the team that shows up first can be at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
Because if they don't have
dragon fight taking half your HP.
Yeah, taking half your and it just takes like, honestly, it probably takes another 10 to 15 seconds. It has so much health now. You think about any of these fights, and I don't know the actual numbers on this. Freak could tell you the numbers because he has the mind for this. But it would be very interesting to watch these fights back and just do it like, how much health did it have before? Because I bet these are clean takes if we do it on the previous health amount.
Yeah.
And maybe even that Baron that we made ourselves look very silly, not killing. Like, and my concern is that can take some time to kind of reset, right? It's like it's game sense. It would be like if in Rocket League, I'm gonna do the rare thing. I'm gonna make a non-traditional
esports analogy. Yes, let's go. The new meta for Underdog.
Let's say, so you play a lot of Rocket League, Cole. Let's say that in Rocket League they make a couple of changes in the next patch. The ball moves 10% more quickly, and you jump 8% less high. You would miss 4 to 5 saves a game because in your mind, you know exactly when you need to jump and you know how to time it. Like when you change so significantly the health of these objectives as they have, it just takes different amounts of time. And I saw it time and again. We weren't set up well. We thought we could get it and get out. And then it gets to 3,000 health. They show up, we leave because we know we can't win the fight. So that concerns me.
Yeah.
To say the least.
Yeah. It's because like every team has to adapt to that, right? Every team is playing with the same rules. So I want us to be the team that has the good read on it. It's definitely up in the air right now.
Yeah. And look, Reaper is a very smart dude.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that we're like, so actually here, let me segue this into the next thing. Maybe more time to prep with this change to the game is good. Another series against EG is actually probably very helpful because we'll have time to prepare differently and then time to put into practice. And then by the time we get to, assuming we win, to finals, we have that much more practice. I can't think of any other reason that we're just making these kinds of mistakes. I think it's because we're just not prepared for it, which is weird to say.
Yeah, it was not our sharpest weekend, man. I don't think that's debatable. So there's a lot of things up in the air. What I'm counting on is that we rely on our we have to prove people, thing, and dig super deep and maybe abandon some kind of meta rules and just play what we need to play. I don't know. It'll be interesting. Fudge interview. You want to bring that up really quick?
Really quick. I just think it's a shame to see a good series kind of I think he did it a disservice by saying, and he also just dropped a whole bunch of unnecessary. He was trying to be really edgy, dropping a bunch of unnecessary swear words and stuff.
Trying to get to that toxic co-streaming career we talked about.
I know. So I would like to see far less of this. Look, it doesn't make anybody more confident in the region. I think this is actually a good series. Like I said, that was entertaining and fun to watch. And we made some mistakes, but the fights were close. So I think in general, I want to see people. It's a bummer as a fan to watch a series that was exciting to watch, and the LCS playoffs have been awesome. And then for the top two teams to be we both played horribly. It sucked.
We're bad. Everybody's bad. Everybody's bad.
Cool.
All right. Yes. Great.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks for that.
Yes, Fudge. We're grateful to you for this thoughtful interview that you gave. Yeah, it's oh gosh, man, it drives me so crazy. And that is precisely why so many people like him too. That's the worst. It brings out the worst in the league community.
Yeah, people what?
Yeah, he tells it like it is.
No way. He said it. He said
it. Gosh, everybody's 14 who watches league. Okay. We've given really quick.
Yep.
I also wanted to make this general point before we move on to listener takes, and we're going long. Sorry. You made a joke. I made a joke about Team Liquid and how much money they spent and how much that sucks when you don't qualify for Worlds. Spending that much money, $7 million. I don't know. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a heck of a lot. That's I think someone said something about CLG spending a 10th of that or whatever, and virtually getting the same result, and it's been really weird to hear people talk about it's in NA, Worlds is in NA, and they pitched investors on how great it's going to be when Worlds is in NA, and they capture that audience, and it's what do you think is going to happen about NA? Do you think millions of League fans or millions of normal people who are not League fans are going to be converted because we rented Madison Square Garden for a day?
Right. My mom's going to call me have you heard of League of Legends?
I saw it on the local news. I don't mean to be too dismissive of it, but and I know that there is some impact there that will definitely be real.
Sure.
You have an extra eye on you or whatever. Sure. There's more attention. And if you are able to capture something big during that moment, it can be really cool. I don't know. That's not really the pitch I would be making to investors or whatever.
Yeah.
And So it's not even the fact that TL spent all the money and then they like can't capitalize on their investor promise or whatever. Like that's been talked about so much. It's like I don't even know why we're talking about that. Like they spent a lot of money to try and win and they lost. That's the story. It's
That's
not
the story, yeah.
you know, but it brings up something. It's like we know that this league really isn't ready for expansion, right? Like they might try and do it anyway, but we cannot. We just don't have the talent pool for expansion if we want to be a serious major region, in my opinion, which sucks. Like I wish it was different, but it just doesn't feel like. But that means there's only 10 teams. And the difference in getting second and third place is like drastic, right? And it shouldn't be that drastic. Like if you are like the third place team compared to the second place team, you should be able to be like, yeah, we had a season almost as good as them. You know, it shouldn't be like so, it shouldn't feel so horribly different. Like if we lose to EG, it's going to feel like terrible compared to getting second place and losing to Cloud9 in the finals, right?
Right.
Or even worse, the third, fourth thing. You miss Worlds by one spot. It's like it's like a different planet that you're on.
Yeah.
When like you may be exactly as good as the third place team, but it coin flipped. And I think like because we don't have many teams, this difference is just way exaggerated. The impact of losing these games in these series is like way too high. I don't know what we do with that. I'm just saying that's the way it is. Like, I think we talk all the time about like the heart attacks we get from being 100 Thieves fans. And I think a lot of it comes from that. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, like, are we going to lock Worlds? Are we going to make finals? All this stuff. Trying to hit these benchmarks. The players obviously care more about going to Worlds than championships, you know, domestically. I mean, in general, not necessarily 100 Thieves players, though it's probably true for them too. It's like, as long as you make Worlds, cool, you're relevant, you're playing on an international stage. Man, it's just like Team Liquid. I know it sucks what happened to them, but it shouldn't feel like that much worse.
Right.
But it does. We just don't have enough teams.
I mean, there's all this talk about like, oh, the playoffs, eight teams in the playoffs. 80% of the teams make playoffs. Like 3 teams make playoffs. Worlds is playoffs in the summer.
I've never heard anyone say that, but it's so true. Yeah. Screw
Honestly,
that.
like,
3 teams make playoffs.
Yeah. Who's happy that they got an extra 2 weeks in the season to lose? You know, like none of these deals. You talk about investor. No, none of them are calling their investors like, guys, we made the playoffs. And I think that if we make the playoffs 10 to 20 more times, we can really start to get some momentum domestically. It's like, no. If you want to be anybody in League of Legends, you have to play international events. That's the only way to really get your name out there in a meaningful way.
Yeah. I'm just picturing the board of directors calls for like, you know, it's like, yeah. So I'm happy to report that we did make playoffs. You made playoffs? Yeah. And we got what place? 7th place. And 7th out of 10? Yeah. We're proud?
Yes. Yeah. We're in the top 30th top 30th percentile of professional League of Legends.
Worlds is playoffs. But you know, I again, there's no solution here because we can't support the teams that would make this go away. But I do hate it for everybody. I even hate it for Team Liquid, right? I hate that that it has to be that. And I just want to say that.
I mean, Graf says this in chat, right? Like one way to change that is to win more at Worlds and take away somebody else's World spot. But it's
you getting
it's
4
good.
Mad Lions is playing in playoffs without having won a best of 5.
But they have the all-pro team. Cool.
That's right. Watch out. Oh yeah, and then Cyrus pointing out, by contrast, LNG won 6 best of 5s but didn't make World.
Oh, that's so brutal.
Which would, you know, that's the kind of thing that happens when you do have a more robust team with more robust league with more teams. So
yeah,
whatever.
That's rough. Mad Lions in without LNG.
Yeah, playoffs, play-ins may actually be kind of intense. We'll talk about that soon. Yeah. Okay, let's rush through these listener names.
Yeah, let's lightning around these bad boys.
Ziak, the freakishly strong Ziak, he's been posting his workout Twitter. Dang, this guy's gonna kill me. FBI and Huhi's Lucian Nami combo is not it. I feel like we lose every time they have picked it. Maybe they just need more work on it or abandon it completely. I know Berserker is good, but we've had worse performances picking Lucian Nami against other teams. I don't think they should abandon it. Just get more practice using the champ because it seems like it always flops on stage. I don't think it has always flopped on stage. However, as of late, yes, been flopping, not working the way we need it to. And I think we need to cross it off the list temporarily. So I'm in agreement with that portion of the take. Jordan? Thumbs up?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Germ asks, I am Germ. Do you think end of the year 2022 do you think end of year 2022 100 Thieves is better than end of year 2021 100 Thieves? Partly wondering because you do have more or less hope and higher lower expectations going into Worlds. So this is an interesting question because, like, let's pretend we win. So it's like you've got a winning team in 2021 and a winning team in 2022. Yeah. What do you feel about the squad?
Man, I think for me the big question mark, honestly, right now is what I brought up earlier, which is just we clearly have adjustments to make to how we play and the way the game, the state of the game currently. I think the game currently, and this has been a trend, they've made changes over time that have been less conducive to the way we play since we won at the end of 2021. So my answer would be less confident, but it is based almost entirely just on where the game is right now. It feels like it's changed significantly within the last weeks and like month, in a way that it's going to take us some time to adapt to. So I'm concerned.
I think, like, relative to competition, if we were to win this, unless it's insanely dominant this weekend from us, like, I would probably still think relative to competition 2021 100 Thieves is better because we had that, juice, that extra lightning in a bottle at the right time. Because it's like, yeah, we may be like wiser now, but it's not like we're heads and shoulders above everybody else in the league. So that's something, right? Like, you definitely want to keep improving. And I think that relative to the competition, I don't think we're like still just advancing at the same rate. So I would kind of take 2021 at this point, but we'll see. There's something to be said about last Worlds. I think, like, once we get there, we're going to really see what we're made of. Because I think the guys really felt like they left a lot on the table at Worlds. And so we'll see how well we do. JC101 has a take, surprise. Jalapeno take. Aatrox, a trap pick versus C9. Fudge said in an interview that he's been 1v1 with a partner against top played champions. Pair that with their ability for them to draft, quote, run away from you, then re-engage comps. And Aatrox ends up a liability. I definitely think Fudge was very prepared to play someday Aatrox. Yeah?
Yeah. And look, I got this one exactly wrong. I said I think Fudge might go for some things, but I think somebody can handle it. He didn't I think somebody still put up overall a good effort, like still effective, but he did not win lane. None of these games were looking heavily someday sided.
Regardless of the lane state, he, again, first week of the summer where he made mistakes, and just was not doing the usual for him. So, we chalk that up as a loss. JC. Yeah.
Yep.
Your main guy says, my take is if we were to make a change, I think FBI should go. He doesn't perform as well as some other ADC, and in a meta where ADC is the strongest, it's weird we can't rely on him more. I think we pick up Jan from TL Academy. Oh, and pick up Busio as well for a fresh start. But if it's too far, just stick with FBI change. Stick with the FBI change. I don't think Huhi is an issue, right? So maybe it's like, it's just kind of stale right now. I think there's something to that right now the meta is ADC focused. Like I said, the top 3 teams have the top 3 bot lanes, and it doesn't feel like we're getting as much out of FBI as I expected to. We know that sometimes the switch flips for him, though, and he'll pop. So I hope that's the case this weekend. honestly, like playing the odds, maybe that's the thing. It's like maybe it's actually encouraging because playing the odds are we're going to have a game where FBI like destroys people, right? And someday destroys people. So we may be in store for something like that.
I think I'll add one quick thing to that, which is even though this is a bot lane meta, I don't think this is heavily FBI meta. Like if you think about the champs,
that's fair.
So I think
Kaisa.
I'm still confident in FBI. I think it'll come back around. I think Zeri right now is kind of throwing things out of whack, but I think it'll rebalance.
Nick Morris says this weekend is way more important than any games at Worlds. A good or bad result will single-handedly define whether this year was a small to huge success and indirectly dictate any off-season changes. Base take?
I am going to say I disagree with this. Only because I think we can win the LCS and then crash at Worlds. And I think the team would still feel pressure to make changes.
Yeah.
Because you do that once, you continue to keep that team and build. You do it twice, you have defined the team's ceiling. And it's not Worlds accomplishments. And I think that's too important for the team to feel like, yeah, we'll just continue to kind of, aim for domestic success. They've said it many times. They want to do well at Worlds. So I think if you do that twice in a row, it raises questions.
I'm kind of in the middle of this one because I see your point and agree with it, but I also agree with this is an extremely important weekend for context. Like, how good are we? And how much are we improving? Are we improving? I do think this weekend is extremely meaningful for it. But like you said, if the case is we get to Worlds and nothing else happens, or we do worse or the same, this is a team that wants to improve, right? This is a staff that wants to improve.
Yep.
So it is interesting. Erdoro says a loss this weekend was necessary for us to fix our mistakes before championship weekend. The weekends following a big loss is usually some of our best games. And like, I love that last point. The weekends following a big loss, usually some of our best games for sure. So I am super like pumped up for that concept. Like,
yep.
Chip on our shoulder is back. And I do think, like I said, we got some things demonstrated to us about ourselves. We have a great, capable staff. If they can fix it, they will. So they're gonna show what they've got. And I'm down to ride with that. G-Organism says, if 100T doesn't win the championship, would a roster change be in the talks? So I'm assuming he's meaning an LCS title, of course, and not Worlds. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be in the talks regardless of results. Again, staff wants to improve, right? Who do we have? We have Busio. That's a tantalizing prospect. You don't necessarily want that guy leaving and going to play for a rival organization. I think this is a staff that no matter how well we're doing, they're going to evaluate, do we have any improvements to be made? And I think that they will definitely have those full conversations regardless of if we win or not.
I maintain that if we win and we make it out of groups, it is almost an impossible thing to change coming out of that. I don't know what the message would be, right? I get why they would do it. I fully understand that we have excellent talent right there. But that would be such a hard message to try to send to the fans. Although maybe not, because I think fans love Tenacity and Busio. And if either of them came up, I think they'd be happy. But there is an outcome that's still possible that I think makes it almost impossible to make changes.
Yeah. Making out of groups, maybe. I know that they would at least have the conversations, though.
I'm sure they have to, because if you have to, you cannot just say, and we're selling Busio without talking about whether we want to play him.
Yeah,
because you're going to have to if you don't play him, right?
Yeah, I think he literally said it himself. It's like, I'm not going to wait. I'm going to play LCS next year. So,
yeah.
Sen says, much needed a loss to make sure we can improve our macro draft and fix mistakes. Lower bracket momentum secured. More time on stage should give a better edge for finals if we get there. Agree. EG has been pushed to the limit in the lower bracket. VOD review equals win. And I'm on board 100%.
Yeah. Actually, yeah. I'm not always completely sold on like the extra games thing, but I think we need them. I think we need him.
I think we need him to stay sharp. Tatted Sparrow says the weakest link on this team is either FBI Huhi or FBI and Huhi. Our bot isn't the same as it was last year. So many failed dive attempts and getting first blooded in the bot lane every game. I think a lot of this is tied to your constant point about the changes that have been made to the game, and then some meta stuff earlier, especially. Weakest link may still be true though, right?
Yeah.
It's not like we are a team of weakness. We're a strong team in every position.
Yeah.
There's always going to be a weakest link though, and that probably is it, the bot lane.
Yeah. I mean, different times
but they're still a top
Abbedagge,
3. They're still top 3. Yeah, right. That's fair too.
But I think Abbedagge is doing well right now.
Mm-hmm. Glenn Taylor says, addendum from last week, Sejuani ban is curious since both Closer and Someday play it in solo and champ queue. Do you think this is more not wanting to deal with the pick, still not comfortable on the pick, or not liking how the pick changes the team wants to play? Right? So the idea is, are we banning Sejuani because we don't want to play it, because we don't want them to play it, or we don't want to play the way we have to play when we play Sejuani, right?
Yeah. Any number of reasons it could be. I mean, the thing that feels weird to me, look, I get somebody had a Sejuani game with a great stat line, like popped off, had a ton of kills.
Probably
it's not
Torin.
the usual. Yeah, it's not the usual. No, I think it was. I honestly, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I cannot imagine that we're banning it because we don't want to play it. But it doesn't feel to me like the type of champion that we would want to see Closer on.
Didn't Someday tweet a screenshot of him playing Sejuani after this series?
Funny.
So that leads me to believe they don't want to play it, more than anything else.
But like, there are plenty of champs that we don't want to play just because we don't think it fits our style. We don't ban them,
True. But on the other hand, it has been an effective pick as a tank, for other teams. Yeah. I don't know. I don't love the ban, to be honest. I don't love the ban. I think it's a weakness that we have, and I don't want to have that weakness. Yep. Use it on Zeri. Andrew Young says, it seems to me comfort picks in draft are the way to go. And just permaban Sivir Zeri. Been really boring watching 2 OP champs go at it. Everyone liked that.
Yeah. Honestly, I wouldn't even say just ban Zeri. I'm okay letting Sivir through to the other team. I think it's fine.
Cyrek wrote a novel, which usually I don't tolerate, but it's Cyrek and he is cool. And plus he hasn't been flooding my inbox with takes. So after qualifying to Worlds, it doesn't matter which seed 100T places, all have their pros and some have cons. And then he elaborates. First seed, best outcome. We're champs, riding high going into Worlds, but with a team that knows what to do better from last year, and NA is pool 1 again. So first seed won't get stuck with another first seed from a major. So very important when it comes to Worlds placement and mental, right? Second seed, maybe the worst outcome. We skip plans, but might be down a little more going into Worlds. If this becomes a worse outcome, depends on group draws. So yeah, right. So depending on what group we get drawn into, which we don't have a lot of luck with, plus it's rough for NA anyway, that's something to consider. Then third seed, probably worst outcome. We have to go through plans, which will be tougher this year than previous, but it gives the team time to adjust to Worlds and build up a momentum, which for this team, they have good momentum going. They are on. So the play-in gauntlet. Any other year, I'm like, I maybe rather be third seed than second seed because of that. I mean, look, no one wants to have to play more games to get farther, but the reality of it is that the people just tend to be sharper when they get those stage games against warm-up opponents, essentially. This year is going to be kind of rough in the play-ins, man. There are a lot of fourth seeds that are going to be hanging around in play-ins, and that is not a pretty sight. I think play-ins are going to be scarier this year. Plus, there's so much to lose when you play in play-ins. If you mess it up,
you don't want to be that team.
Catastrophic. Boy. Yeah, you don't want to be that team. Just imagine what the community.
Yeah, we'd never live that down.
All right, this one's for you. Real Connection says the team didn't understand their win cons in each game. Game 1, we were trying to engage, and they would counter-engage with better CC abilities and run the team fight. We didn't seem to understand the comps we were running. Plus, we didn't delay Jensen kill, which lost us the game.
Yes. Yeah. It's strange. It is strange.
Yeah.
My hope is that those kinds of things can be tuned up quickly. Because if they can, like if we just go into all of our objective fights, so we had great positioning. Like we had priority. We had good, we started it. We could have, so many different things we could have done. We just didn't do them. If we can fix that, I am much, much less concerned. But we'll have to see.
And then finally, Squizmatic says, looking forward to Worlds. The game against EG is the more important one than the championship. Going into play-ins is a death sentence. So building on what we were talking about earlier with Sarek, he says 1 LPL, 1 LCK, 2 LEC, and 1 LCS for 4 available slots, right?
Wow.
So somebody is going home. There's 2 LEC teams. There's an LPL team and an LCK team in the play-ins.
That's crazy.
It's going to be tough. Yep. And he says that's not including minor region standouts.
So actually, that's very interesting. What that means is, I said earlier, just in like the last take, you don't want to be that team. One of the major regions will have somebody be that team.
Mm-hmm. And,
I don't like
NA
those
is
odds.
Probably, you look it up on DraftKings, NA is probably the favorite.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, so I agree. I think I definitely don't want to see that 3rd seed. We got to win against Evil Geniuses. So let's talk about it. Revenge Tour 2022 happens this weekend. Jordan, we play against EG. Do we get the dub? And if so, how dubbingly?
Yes, we get the dub.
Nice.
It is dubbed pretty dubbingly. I'm gonna say 3-1 us.
I think JoJo is gonna make it hard. Impact is gonna make it hard. Inspired, if he learns to smite, might be a factor also. I think it goes to us 3-2. I think it's a hard series. I think the LCS playoffs meta is 5-game series, and we're probably going to oblige, especially if we're still tuning up some of the rusty spots. Yep. So I'm anticipating a long, contentious series that we win in the 5th game. That leads us to Cloud9 in the finals. Revenge Tour Part 2. How does it go?
Oh man. Predicting the finals, Cole. I brought up a lot of reasons that I'm worried. I think we can make that change. I think we can adapt. And a lot of these games are so close. If we could have just made those adjustments, I think we'd probably win. And this series comes down to a 3-2, and those are very coin flippy. I'm going to say we win, Cole. I'm going to say we win 3-2.
Jordan, it's hard to be good for a long time. Cloud9's had a lucky stretch. It's hard for that luck to continue. As of this moment, I am still not sure what I'm about to say.
Oh,
so
dear.
give me 5 seconds.
I'll stall for you, Cole. I saw a funny video on the internet earlier today.
100 Thieves 3-2.
Oh!
5-game finals. 100 Thieves wins it in a very close one. I still believe it, and I'll get memed on if I'm wrong about this, but it just seems like C9 has just gotten really fortunate. Berserker is the wild card. Surely our guys can cook up something to stop him. Surely we can. Surely we learned. I just look, when it comes down to it, are they that much better than us? Are they better than us at all? Is debatable. It's too late. This podcast has gone on too long. It's debatable. Obviously people are going to say yes right now based on the result and how C9 has looked, but I still just, in my gut, I'm like, they have just gotten lucky. You've just gotten lucky. It just feels like that to me. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be disrespectful. I think they're a good team. If EG plays the way that EG has been playing, C9's better than them. If we play the way we played this past weekend, C9's better than us.
Yeah.
But I just feel like we're going to find a way.
I have one question for you, Cole.
Yeah.
Which champion does closer play in the decisive game 5?
It's not going to be Lee Sin. I think they'll actually, if we go to game 5, I think they will ban Lee Sin. And I think it'll be Return of the Viego.
Oh, the Viego.
Because at that point, you're playing like comfort stuff, right? Viego is not on the radar right now. And you get to the end of a 5-game series. It's going to be Viego. He'll pull it out. And guess what? He won't be the carry. Abbedagge will.
Oh, surprise.
Look at it. Look at me go. Prophet Cole. I've said way too much. I'm going to be wrong about something.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it's the pick and not the outcome.
I just like I like our team. Things didn't bounce the right way. And things have been bouncing in C9's favor for a long time. That's just what my gut tells me. So,
yep.
We'll see. Okay, that was a very long Hunter talk again. We've been doing this lately, but
I'm very thankful for everybody sending in their takes.
Yeah.
We're getting a ton of listener takes. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Like
Thanks for the takers. We like it.
Yep. Okay, so huge weekend coming up. It's going to be one. It will feel really good to win this title if we win it. It will feel very, very good. And please just no third seed. I will feel like we will have, just imagine the mental of losing this first game and being the third seed, going to the play-in gauntlet. It's just going to be crazy if that happens. Just anything but that, man. Get 3-0'd in finals by C9, sure. Just anything but be the third seed. I can't take it. My heart can't take it. We'll see what happens. But I love these guys. Regardless of what happens this weekend, I love these guys. I love this team. And I'm grateful that we've gotten to watch them for so long.
Agreed.
And we'll get to watch them more. Even if we lose this weekend, we'll get to watch them more coming up.
Yeah, I'm glad we get to do Worlds content this year, Cole. It's going to be fun.
I'm glad I get to be in Atlanta for semifinals when we're going to be playing. It'll be sick.
Yeah. That's going to That's great.
All right, everybody, thank you for being here with us. As always, we will say we love you and we miss you already.
Take care.